All right, it's time for episode number 84 of the Press Box Podcast. And in this episode, we kind of have a special episode, something a little different. We're going to talk about Major League Baseball stadiums, specifically the National League in this episode. We'll get to the American League in a future episode. But we're going to run down the list of National League teams, talk about their stadiums. We've been to, between the three of us, we've been to a pretty good amount. Some of us have been to all of them, some of us just one, kind of a mix for a few of them. So we'll talk about those, what we thought of them, the highlights, some of the things we didn't like as well, and just kind of give our thoughts on the state of baseball stadiums currently and past too, because we have been some old ones. I think the baseball stadiums, more than any other stadiums, are the most unique and kind of fun to talk about and get into. So we'll do that on this episode in the National League. But before we start, as always, I'm going to talk about our Twitter account at PressBoxPod, and then check us out on YouTube as well. So it's PressBox Podcast, and see some of the stuff we've got going up there, and we'll continue adding new stuff all the time as well. Without further ado, episode 84 of the Press Box Podcast.
Okay, welcome back to the Press Box Podcast. Hi, I'm your co-host, Ralph Miranda. I'm joined today by my other co-host, Joseph Miranda, and of course, our producer, Nathan Miranda. This is episode 84 of the Press Box Podcast. And today we've got kind of a special episode for you. It's going to be the first in a series of episodes where we talk about the different stadiums or arenas of different professional sports franchises. We're going to start today by talking about baseball, since baseball is the hot topic right now, mid-season for that major league sport. We'll talk about football as we get a little closer to football season, and then we'll also touch on hockey and basketball. But we thought baseball would be a good one to start with, since we've all been to a number of baseball stadiums. And the way we're going to do this is some stadiums all three of us have been to, so we'll banter about our different thoughts about that stadium when it comes to location, view, parking, amenities, food, whatever. If only one of us have been to a stadium, obviously that person will give you that viewpoint. And then, of course, some teams have changed stadiums, and we've been to both of those. So we'll kind of give you a comparison as we go along. So we're going to start with the National League, and I'm just going to go right down the order of the standings as they sit here today. So we'll start with the New York Mets. Now, the New York Mets obviously came into the league back in the early 60s. They started out in the Polo Grounds, which I had been to, by the way, when I was 6 years old. I don't remember a lot about it. So I don't have a lot of ability to talk much about that, except I remember how huge the stadium was. The outfield was just gigantic. I think it was 390 down one of the lines, which is just unbelievable. But so we'll leave that one out. But then they moved to Shea Stadium in 1964, I believe. I've been to Shea Stadium a lot when I was a youngster in the 60s, 64, 65, 66, 67. But then we all went to Shea Stadium back in 2002 to watch the Mets play. Do you remember who they played that day?
Braves.
The Braves. I thought it was
That was a good bet.
Okay,
the Braves.
yeah.
It seems like we get to see the Braves even when we don't go to Atlanta somehow. I don't know. I think you want to see different teams.
I don't know why that is. That just seems to work out that way. But I guess since I've been doing a lot of talking here early on, I'll let you guys go first. What are your memories, even though it's been a long time ago? I think, Joseph, you were, 13 at that time. Nathan was probably 9. But memories of Shea Stadium, likes, dislikes.
Okay, yeah. First of all, I always kind of liked Shea Stadium. I don't know why. I guess like the big, semicircle type of bowl, and then the outfield is just kind of like not much. The way they had it set up was kind of cool, but it was like the ball curved around the outfield a little bit, but like by the bullpens. I always kind of liked the way it looked, but and I like the blue walls, just all the blue that was there. That was like the most memory I have. And the big scoreboard in right field. So yeah, like you said, it was probably, I guess it was 19 years ago now, but I just have good memories overall of Shea Stadium. And another thing I remember that I guess I don't know if I liked it. I like those railings in the box seats. Had a lot of like orange railings. Like,
yeah, I was about to say.
more than any other stadium, which I thought was unique. And
Yeah, the colors just really stand out in my mind. Like
Yeah.
there was like the team Mets colors, but like that orange and blue, like a bright kind of like ocean type of blue. It really popped out like all over the stadium. I think those railings were orange, right?
Mm-hmm.
The fence was blue. Everything, the actual bucket seats, I think, were like orange and different colors, right?
they're orange.
They're all orange. The colors just really popped out. I remember. Of course, I like the apple. They had the apple. That's still kind of there, I guess. The new place we'll get to, but I like that. I like the kind of the sight lines of it. Like, I guess today it's not really a stadium that people would build because there was not much in the outfield in the way of seats. Like it was kind of open, if I remember correctly. You know what I mean? Like
it was,
except down the lines. But I kind of like that feel. I like that huge, like you said, that huge scoreboard was interesting. I don't have many memories from the actual game itself. I remember it might have started at live. I remember most of the game was at night, I think.
Yeah, it was like maybe a 7:15 start, but it was in the summer, so it was still light.
If I remember correctly, it was a little bit of a hassle to get there.
Yes,
right?
It was.
It's not really like
it's in Queens, and it's next to the U.S. Open tennis facility, the old U.S. Open tennis facility.
I don't remember though if a metro stop was there or not or what.
Yeah, I don't remember that either. Yeah.
But yeah, just the colors really pop out in my mind. Awesome colors. I don't know if the Mets. I think they kind of went well. I feel like they kind of went to some darker shades recently, but they might be back to their old ones now. But I remember it seemed like in the 90s or when we went in the 2000s, their colors seemed a little brighter, like the blues and orange on the uniform.
That's a good perception. That's exactly right. Their colors were a brighter blue and a brighter orange, and they dulled that down a little bit back in the 90s and early 2000s. But I think they're starting to come back around a little bit to that.
Yeah,
I like that.
Much those bright colors are all over the stadium. So yeah, Shea. I like the name. I don't know what it's named after, but Shea Stadium.
Yeah,
they should have built a new one. That was an awesome stadium. That's just
well, we'll save reasons why teams build new stadiums for a later episode. But I remember a lot about the old Shea Stadium. I mean, I remember some great memories of, back in 1964 and 1965. The World's Fair was in New York, and the World's Fair was set up right there around Shea Stadium. That's why you still have the giant world globe that sits there. You have that tall that they used in the movie Men in Black that's still there, which I think was a restaurant during the World's Fair.
It's like two discs on top of
two discs on there. I remember vividly my dad and I taking the train into New York because we lived on Long Island, and going to the World's Fair during the day and going to the Mets game at night. I mean, I remember that like it was yesterday. I mean, one of the greatest memories I have, him and I, World's Fair and the Mets game, we did that at least 2 or 3 times during that 2-year span that the World's Fair was there. We went to a lot of Mets games, mostly because it was easy to get tickets to the Mets in their early years. The Yankees tickets were almost impossible to get back then because they were still a really good baseball team back then. They were living off their 50s and early 60s dynasty. But I do remember that I went to a lot of Mets games when I went to a day camp in the summer, and we used to go to Mets games occasionally in the summer. And we used to be able to get down on the field with the players. The stadium was empty. There was no marketing boards or anything in the early 60s. Today, of course, that's all gone. But just a beautiful stadium. A lot of great memories of those early Mets teams, and especially the colors, like Nathan said, the bright orange and bright blue colors, and the old NY that they've gone back to for the Mets, the different NY than the Yankees have. Shea Stadium was great. And then, of course, they moved into Citi Field, I guess, about 10 years ago, roughly. I think I'm the only one of the three of us who've been to Citi Field, was there about 3 years ago. It's a beautiful ballpark. I mean, there's no getting around that. It's still close to LaGuardia Airport. That's another thing we forgot to mention about Shea. It's so close to LaGuardia that every so often you hear an airplane taking off. It just comes right over the stadium, and it just the sound of it is just amazing because it's so close to the airport. You still have that in the new ballpark, but it's the entrance to the new ballpark that's so great. I mean, they have like a rotunda area when you come into the ballpark, and it's kind of an open entrance. And then they have a Hall of Fame to the right, and then escalators that take you up to the first level of the seating of the stadium. So it's a very well thought out plan, a very beautiful stadium, kind of old brick, old iron type structure, which gives you that feeling of an old stadium, even though it's not. and the amenities. I mean, the food was good. Just I like Citi Field a lot. I think it was a good addition to the Mets history. But I'm kind of like you guys. I think Shea Stadium, was a classic.
Can you remember anything that was that different from Shea Stadium in the 60s to the 2000s? I know you said the billboard stuff, but they didn't really change much, right?
They didn't change much. It was just like you said, basically, I guess the best way to put it is Shea Stadium in the 60s was like going to almost like a minor league game today, or maybe one of the traveling baseball games Joseph played in. It was just a baseball field with a wall, and seating.
It was a big stadium.
Yeah, but I mean, what I'm saying is there was no fanciness to it. Okay.
Okay.
Whereas now you've got all the billboards and jumbotrons and marketing ads and constant promotions. It's just a different.
I will say one thing: you definitely get the vibe in Shea Stadium, in the Shea Stadium, which I'm sure you get in the Citi Field, of like, it's kind of like you're at like the stepchild of New York baseball. I mean, like it's like you're at like kind of the alternate location for baseball in New York City. Like, it feels like you're kind of like under the radar. Like, hey, like, it feels like you're kind of like you're like in the know or something. Like you're going to the under the radar game in New York. When you're at Yankee Stadium, it feels like you're at like the center of the city. Yeah, like the main event, main attention. Which I'm not saying is good or bad. It's just an interesting kind of feel. It feels like you're at kind of like off the beaten path at Shea Stadium.
Yeah, and the beauty of that, to take it one step further, is in New York. Usually the combination, if you're a fan, is Mets, Jets, Islanders, Nets when they used to be in New York, and they still are in Brooklyn. And then if you're a Yankees fan, it was Yankees, Giants, Rangers, Knicks. So that's kind of how it played itself out. But let's move on. We're going to leave the Phillies out because none of us have been to the Phillies ballpark. So we won't talk about that one. And we'll let Joseph start by talking about the Marlins because he's the only one of the three of us who've been there. So Joseph, take it away.
Yeah, so I went in 2016, and it's changed a little bit since then. The big thing people probably notice is the big, like, I don't even know what you'd call that thing in left field, like left center. That
panorama, like
an art piece.
A mural? Is it like a mural?
No, it moves and stuff, though, right?
Yeah, it's like, I don't know what you call it.
Installation, art installation
in left field. They've taken that out recently. It was there when I was there, though. But
they took that out. I didn't know that.
Yeah, that was more for their old color scheme with the big M and
that makes sense.
Trying to like turn it down a little bit, but so I went and the roof was closed, which I liked. I don't mind retractable roofs at all, and then when I'm there, I don't mind the roof being closed. I know baseball is like an outdoor game, but the roof being closed is a nice atmosphere. It's very, very spacious. Like there's like the concrete is big, like the aisles are big. It's not like, for example, like a Yankee Stadium, everything's kind of compact, and, like the old one, tight. Like, but there's like some of the outfield, like they need to like fill the space. I feel like with something. It's just a lot of, but which is nice. It feels like a modern stadium. I don't think I got any food there, so I can't really talk about that. But parking, it's kind of like in a little like just like community. It's not. It's kind of west of downtown. It's in like a little neighborhood almost. I think there's like a parking garage right there that I use, but yeah, so I like it. I mean, it's like it just feels like a modern stadium.
Did you sit in the upper deck? Do you remember? Or did you sit in the lower deck?
Lower bowl, but not too close to the field.
How much do you think? I know we've only been through two teams right now, but I guess this is a theme that's going to run through the whole episode. Is how much do you think when you go to a Marlins game, the fact that they have not been a franchise for very long and haven't had a tremendous amount of success? How much more of a positive impression do you get from their new stadium as opposed to the Mets or the Yankees that are traditional franchises and have created so much history in their old stadium that when you go to the new stadium, you kind of have a different feel for it? Do you think that's a valid assumption?
Definitely. I think you basically just said it all right there. There's so many memories and history at the old stadium that when you go to the new one, it might be nice and clean and nice amenities, but at least I don't really like it.
Right.
Because it doesn't feel like it's home for them. It
right.
feels like,
yeah. I mean, and the Marlins won 2 World Series, okay, but
they did.
Never really had their own stadium. That was the Dolphins stadium.
Yeah. Right.
This is really their.
Yeah, but even like I guess to your point, like when trying to think of an example. Like when Milwaukee built their new stadium. Like, I don't know if none of us have ever been to the old one, but no. I'm sure there wasn't like an uproar. Like, well, you're leaving whatever that stadium was called. Like, because
I think they played Milwaukee County Stadium.
Yeah, my biggest when I think of that, I think of Major League more than anything.
Yeah, that's a good point. Yeah.
But okay, interesting. Well, I was going to say one more thing about the Marlins. Oh, we've been to Pro Player Stadium too. Just we had to set up for college football.
This is true. Yeah, but
I guess we can't really talk about that.
No, we can't talk about that. That doesn't apply. Yeah. So yeah, okay, good assessment of the Marlins. So let's move on let's go to the Nationals next. They're in second place right now in the East, but we've all three of us multiple times and fairly recently have been to Nationals Park. So let's talk about that. Who wants to go first? Nathan, you want to jump in on that one?
I kind of like that. I kind of like the naming of it, Nationals Park. It feels like an old school name. I don't really like so much when these like Citi Field and stuff. I like names like Shea. I don't think Shea was like a corporate name. Shea Stadium, Yankee Stadium, Nationals Park.
Right.
So I like the naming of it. It kind of has that, which I feel like a lot of newer stadiums like Pittsburgh and other stadiums have kind of gone this route. It kind of has that kind of old school baseball vibe to it. But it's like a very new, nice amenity type of stadium. Like it doesn't have that like mega structure feel that like some of these I'm imagining the Marlins have.
Right.
I'm not saying it's good or bad. I'm just saying it's there. Some of these like Diamondbacks have. It has more of like an old school kind of feel to it. You know, it's a little more open in the outfield. There's no dome or anything, retractable dome. So I kind of like that feel of it. And it's very nice. Of course, it was pretty new when I went. I think I've only been once. It was pretty new.
Okay. Yeah.
I kind of like how we can talk about RFK after this, but this is a whole other story.
We've all been to RFK.
But when you get off like the Metro stop or whatever, you have that little walk like to the stadium. As I understand it now, there's a lot of stuff going on there.
Right. It built it up.
When we went, there wasn't really much there, but I'm sure that's really nice now, like on the walk to the stadium. And you enter kind of behind left field, you know. I just kind of like the location of it, you know. I mean, other than that, I can't really think. There's no like one part of it that really sticks out in my mind as being like very memorable. It's just kind of a nice place to relax and watch a game, in my opinion.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think that there's a good point, but I wouldn't say anything about it as very memorable. Like, it's just kind of like, it's just a nice stadium. Like, there's nothing more to say than that. Like, it's not a great stadium, bad. It's like, it's nice. It's nice, you know, like it's like my top 5 or anything like that. But, and then, like you said, the location kind of in like south to southwest DC, which is like really nothing there before they built the stadium, and that was kind of the first thing. And now, like you said, they're building a lot of stuff there, and like a kind of an attraction, becoming an attraction of a part of the city.
Yeah.
And I think depending on where you sit, like in over left field view, I think you can see the Capitol. Like, but that's a nice touch. But yeah, you can touch on after you get into RFK as well. I think I like that stadium.
Yeah, and easy access too. I mean, the Metro makes it very easy to get. I personally think the Washington Metro system is one of the best in the country, without a doubt. And the ease to get there, and like you said, you get off, you walk a little bit, you're there. Shea Stadium, we talked about the Mets, you know, Shea Stadium and Citi Field, same thing. You can take the subway to get there, which is probably the preferred method of transportation, since driving and parking up there is difficult. But so I would give it kudos on that. Its ability the ease to get in and out of the stadium would be great. But like you all said, there's nothing really memorable about it. It's just a very nice Major League stadium.
Yeah, it's a nice laid back stadium.
Yeah,
exactly. It almost feels like this. My way off here. It almost feels like take a little bit of the seats away. It feels like a AAA stadium a little bit. No, okay.
Yeah, okay. No, I haven't been to a lot of AAA stadiums.
I haven't been to a lot. It kind of has that kind of more. I feel like it's a laid back feel to it. That's what I'm saying.
It does.
Speaking of ease of getting there, that's a good transition to RFK.
Yes, it is.
Which was not very easy, if I remember.
No, we had a long walk from Metro.
It was a long walk, but I mean, the Metro took you there.
The Metro took you there. Yeah, I just remember walking like a long ways, and we're like, it's kind of in the middle of nowhere. If I remember, you're like where we're gonna get to the stadium. You just keep walking.
Yeah, it wasn't very conducive to baseball, though. I don't think.
Yeah, but it was really the Redskins Stadium, I guess. Right. But the thing I liked about it, okay, well, look, it wasn't a nice stadium. Like, it was old, and it was like, even more so than Shea. It was kind of like dirty and beaten up, kind of. and obviously you didn't really have like a view of anything. Like when you looked out in the outfield, it was just a wall and then like some upper deck seats. But
it was one of those cookie cutter stadiums from like the 70s.
Yeah, I just kind of liked. I don't know. Maybe it was just the fact that baseball was back in DC at that time, and it was a new team, a new like thing. I don't know if that played a part of it, but a little green wall back there, and like the upper deck seats, and the little like arches at the top.
Yeah.
I just kind of I have good memories of it. I don't know.
No, I really liked RFK too. I wouldn't have been upset off if they never moved out of RFK.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, I do remember. I remember there was a rain delay, if I remember correctly. We all had to stand in the breezeway, and I remember that's when it kind of really hit me how run down the place. But it's just like this. It's just like utilitarian, just like straight up concrete brick, like, and it was kind of like decaying and stuff. And yeah, it wasn't. I mean, it was like all those old stadiums, like the LA Coliseum and everything. It's just like brick stuff that you walk around. And there's some little concessions there, but it's not much. But I don't think you go to a game for that. If you want to go to a game for the food or the entertainment, you would go to like a nice restaurant and go to a movie. You go to a game to watch baseball and have a good sight, have a good view from your seat is what I'm thinking.
Yeah.
And I like the, like you said, the top of the stadium was cool. I kind of like those old like cookie cutter kind of stadiums that are just like big circles and they play two sports there, like Three Rivers and all that.
Yeah.
I think they need to build another one of those, just see how it goes.
Well, yeah, that would be a good idea, but they're not going to do that.
That was the point. I liked the uniforms better back then. That was a cool aspect of it. They had more gold in it.
Yeah.
That was cool.
Nationals across. Now they just have a W.
That's right. They said Nationals across it. It was cool.
I think the W they have now is a lot like
Walgreens. Yes.
Well, no, I was going to say they went kind of back to the Washington Senators. The old Washington Senators used to have a W like that.
Yeah, well, I thought didn't they just have more of like a straight up print W? Like
they might have changed that at one time, but the original Washington Senators, I believe, had the old W. But yeah, Washington, very, very nice stadium, the new stadium, and RFK. I agree with everybody.
I remember if RFK wasn't their problem, like the game ended late, and then the Metro, I think, quit running after a certain time.
Right.
You had a long walk to get to the Metro.
Right.
So you had to time it up.
We left early because it was a rain delay.
Right. But also, mainly because we were afraid if we waited too long, we were going to miss the last Metro back. Yeah. Where I think today they run the Metros later on game days because the Nationals are more of an entity now than they were back then.
If I remember correctly, I got Ozzie Gaines' autograph.
Yeah, you did. Got Ozzie Gaines' autograph.
Got his autograph at another stadium too one time. He was playing for a different team, I think.
Oh, boy. All right, so that takes care of that. Last team in the East is the Braves. And the Braves is going to be interesting to talk about because none of us have been to SunTrust Park. That's their newest stadium. We've all been to Turner Field quite a few times, and then I've been to the old Atlanta Fulton County.
So Joseph.
I'm sorry.
So is Joseph.
You've been to the old Atlanta Fulton County?
We have photos to prove it.
Okay.
The one that brought
you two had those little helmets sitting next to each other. We have those photos.
Was that wasn't Turner Field?
No.
No.
You sure?
100%.
All right. Then that sounds good. Yeah, the interesting thing about, and I guess I'm bringing in my age now, like when I talked about Shea Stadium, but I remember when our family moved from New York to Georgia, we drove down there to visit Savannah, Georgia, and look for a house. I want to say it was late summer or early fall of 1967. And the Braves were playing the Mets at Fulton County Stadium. So if you remember, as you drive down I-75 there, it goes right by where the old Fulton County Stadium was. So we decided to just pull in. So we pull in there and we drive around, we find a parking space. We walk into the stadium. There were no ticket takers. There were no security guards, nothing. Of course, it was about the seventh inning of the game. So being that we were in New York and they were playing the Mets, we just walk in there and we stand in the little tunnelway and watch the rest of the game. And then when it's over, we just get back in our car and start driving towards Savannah again. And I thought about that. And I think today you wouldn't even be able to get into the gates today. I mean, it would be unbelievable.
That's interesting. I wonder if you went up to like in the eighth inning, you wouldn't be able to get in.
You still wouldn't be able to get in. No, I mean, because they have security gates all over the place, but so that's one thing I remember about it. And it was a very old stadium. Of course, at that time, it wasn't tremendously old in the 60s, but as the years went on, it got pretty old. But there were a lot of great Braves memories in old Fulton County Stadium. I mean, a tremendous amount of Braves memories there.
Didn't Hank Aaron hit number 7?
He hit number 715 there. That's right. The Braves had their great comeback against the Pirates in 1992. down what were they down? I think they were down 2-0, if I'm not mistaken, in the bottom of the ninth in Game 5, and ended up winning there. So a lot of great memories. They won the World Series there in 1995. So great memories of Fulton County Stadium.
Yeah, I was, but I don't have too many memories about what went on there. But I can check it off my list. But so I'll talk about Turner Field.
All right.
Which I think of the Braves, I kind of still think of Turner Field. Like,
yeah,
that's like their stadium, and they didn't need a new one. It was only 20 years old when they decided to build. Okay, it was basically in downtown Atlanta. Like, this new one's kind of like out in the suburbs, like 20 minutes away.
Right.
Which I don't know why they want to do that. Yeah, Turner Field, like, not being there, and then also just the memory, like just turning on TBS and the Braves would be on every night at Turner Field. Like, that was like kind of went hand in hand, and that was like just made it like a familiar stadium. But as far as the stadium itself, it wasn't like overly exciting. I always liked the outfield wall. It kind of had like at one point it was dark blue with the yellow stripe at the top, and then sometimes it was like kind of like that light blue and dark blue, like mixture of like old Braves players like pictured on there, like in the dark and light blue color. That was kind of fun. Yeah, that's it.
They had the Olympics there, right?
Right. Yeah.
That was the opening and closing ceremony of the track and field stadium, right?
Correct.
Yeah.
Well, how did they fit the track in there?
You have to find a picture of it online, but I think they
took seats away.
Yeah, they did something different with the seats after that. I don't know, but.
Well, I've always liked Turner Field too. I agree with everything you just said, Justice. There's no reason for me to rehash it again. But the things that stick out in my mind, top left field, on the roof, they had like a Coke bottle and like a cow or something.
Yes,
like a Chick-fil-A cow maybe? Or something. And like a Coke bottle.
Sure.
And that was always cool. But it was kind of like a no frills kind of stadium, but it was just like, it was very cool. It was just like, and it very much felt like it was the Braves place, their home. And and the Braves know this. There's a reason the new stadium looks almost identical to the old stadium. I mean, doesn't it kind of look similar?
I guess, but I just don't associate that with the Braves at all.
No,
like Turner Field.
I don't either. I'm just saying, like, I feel like they made it look kind of similar to, because they know that that's what it should look like.
Well, and an older Braves fan might say that Fulton County is associated with the Braves because that's where they had the majority of their success, really. I mean, they went to the World Series in 91, 92, won it in 95. All those great runs they had were at Fulton County Stadium.
They weren't Turner Field in 95?
No, 96 was the first year. Was it 96 or 97?
97.
97. Okay. So, yeah, I mean,
I didn't know that.
They didn't really have a lot of success at Turner. They've had great teams, but they've never been back to the World Series.
Case to be made there that Fulton County was basically the Falcon Stadium, and then it was just one of those big cookie cutters, and the Braves needed their own stadium.
That's true.
Turner Field. So then they spent only years there. The place is essentially in stadium life kind of new still, and they just move away. That's ridiculous.
Yeah, I don't understand that. I mean, it was.
Well, it's always about like
money
and like turning every sport now. They want to, maybe not basketball, I don't know, or hockey, but they want to turn it to like a whole like center, like apartments, shopping, entertainment, like
that's right.
And then the stadium is part of it. It's like, what? It's ridiculous.
They want a total fan experience as opposed to. Well, think about it. Think of all the older stadiums we've been to, the really old ones. You just go in, sit down, and watch the ball game. You can get something to eat, but that's about it. Now it's like big concourses and big rotundas and lots of fan experiences. That's what they want.
Well, I'm talking too, like outside of it.
Even
like
outside.
It was the stadium, and then there were like miles of concrete, like parking. Right? Now it's like they wanted you to be able to live there. They want live entertainment outside. They want like, who cares?
Right. I agree with that. I agree with that.
If you want that thing, if you want that type of thing, if I'm sitting there and if I'm in Atlanta or something, or I don't know, I'm sitting there and I'm thinking, I want to see some live entertainment. I want to like, go get some food. How about we go to the Braves Stadium? It's like, I'm just going to go to a place that does that. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know.
All right. Well, let's move on to the Central Division. This should be a little easier. None of us have been to Wrigley Field yet, so we'll leave that one out.
I hope they never tear that down too.
Yeah, hopefully they won't. I doubt they will anytime soon. St. Louis, none of us have been to the Cardinal Stadium, right?
No.
I haven't. I know you two guys probably haven't. I can't remember. I don't think I have. So we'll leave that
You
one
ever been
out.
to Busch Stadium?
I don't think I have. No.
Is it still called Busch?
I think it is. Yeah. So we'll leave that out. You know why it's called Busch Stadium?
And as a Busch is looking.
Correct. And they're a major sponsor. Okay. All right. So we'll leave St. Louis out. We'll leave Chicago out. Let's start with Milwaukee, since Joseph's the only one who's been there and very recently. So give us your impression of it's not Miller Park anymore. What is it now?
American Family Field or something.
American Family Field. Okay.
Okay. But all right. So that one was a great atmosphere to watch a game. The roof was open when I went. Something about like the way the sun hits the stadium, like there was kind of like, it was a day game. There was kind of shadows, but it's kind of had the lighting kind of hit it like a movie set. I don't know. It was like, it made it just like a cool visual to watch the game. And it feels like it feels like a really big stadium. Like the upper decks seemed really high up or behind home plate. Like Nathan pointed out, it's very similar to the Diamondback Stadium, and I did find out that the same architects made it, each one.
Oh, that's interesting. Yeah.
So, you're right. So it's like, yeah, we'll talk about the Diamondback Stadium eventually, but like the outfield wall, it's like, especially in the center, it's just kind of like a vertical black wall, and then like, the roof, like there's these big things behind there that kind of like Arizona, and then the roof closes and meets in the middle. I like it. It's also a pretty comfortable place to watch a game. And yeah, there's something about the lighting and like the bigness there. The bigness is not a word. I'll say bigness. The bigness of the stadium makes
Trump says a word. Yeah. Bigness. Bigly.
Yeah, I was going to say.
How about, before you think about it, how about easy in, easy out? Parking, access?
Oh, yeah. That was pretty easy. There's just a general parking lot that's not too far away. And there's like a little walking bridge over like one of the highways. And it didn't take more than like 10 to 12 minutes to park and walk in and out and all that stuff.
So there's no parking like right outside the gates. You have to park and then like go over the highway.
It's like it's either like season ticket holders or like more expensive.
Oh, I got you. I was going to say, a lot of these stadiums that we talk about, some of my memories of them, whether I've been there or not, are from home run derbies for some reason. Like this stadium stands out in my mind is always the home run derby where Sosa was juiced up out of his mind. Remember when he was like, and him and Giambi were going back and forth hitting bombs. Remember that?
Yeah.
Yeah, and that was the also tied too.
Yeah, that's right. It was tied. That's right. 2002.
Interesting. Yeah, I would like to go there sometime. I do feel, like you said, I had a feeling that it would be like Arizona because I've been to Arizona. You think, I don't know which one came first?
Arizona.
I would think the architect after that would be like, okay, I did that thing. Let me like try something new. But you just like, you probably had all the plans, or he just had to make a few adjustments and the next day. He probably made quick money on that stadium. All right, we can move on.
No, that's pretty good. That's pretty good.
I like this. I've never been there. I'm just saying, I like the slide. The guy slides down it.
Yeah.
It looks like he's staying like a little like Swiss chateau or something, and then he walks out.
All right, let's move on to the Reds. We've all been to. Is it still what's the name of the
American Ballpark?
The Great American Ballpark. That's right. Great American Ballpark.
Have you been to the old one?
I've been to the old one, Riverfront Stadium, which they shared with the Bengals.
To see a baseball game?
Yeah, see a baseball game there. Again, not a very good place to watch a baseball game because it was really a football stadium.
It's like one of those cookie cutter ones, right? It's a big circle.
Exactly, the cookie cutter. Yeah. Exactly what you're talking about. It was okay, but not really conducive to watching a baseball game. I've never been to Crosley Field. Crosley Field was the old Cincinnati Stadium way back in the 50s and 60s. But Riverfront, I think, was opened in 1970 or right around that time when the Reds started their run as the Big Red Machine. But I obviously went a little bit after that. But the new field, I mean, it's got a very nice feel to it. I mean, I wouldn't put it in, I wouldn't classify it in the top tier of the newer stadiums, but I thought it was pretty nice. I mean, it was fairly easy to get in and out of as far as location and parking seemed to be pretty easy. But like I said, I certainly wouldn't put it on my list of top stadiums.
I kind of feel like it's similar to Turner Field. What it was like, it's very much like it's the home of the Reds. I mean, like it has a very, like it would feel weird if the Reds ever played anywhere else.
Right.
And it's also kind of like Turner in that it's a nice place to watch a stadium, but there's not like really any frills or anything about it to me.
Right.
It's just nice, like it. I like down. I think it's down the first baseline. They have their suites and they're like glass, like dark black kind of glass plane or panes. That's kind of cool. I like I kind of like the little like spires they have in right field.
Yeah, like almost like
they look like they almost look like I don't know if they would go for this. There's a river back there.
Yeah, like a steamboat thing.
Yeah, it looks like a steamboat.
Yeah. That's what I was thinking.
Don't they have like a steamboat wheel actually?
They do.
Yeah, I'm sure that's what they would go for. Yeah.
They do. Yeah.
I like it feels like it kind of the left field at least feels a lot like the Indian Stadium.
Yeah,
like similar kind of feel to that. I've never seen a game there, but I saw. We went to the stadium.
We saw it. Yeah.
I don't know. So that's my impression of the rides.
Yeah,
how about you, Joseph?
I agree with that. I would say it's similar to the Nationals in that I would just call it another nice stadium that's not like too special.
I was trying to decide if I was going to say it's like the Nationals or Braves because it's similar.
Yeah,
I like them both.
Yeah, I would say more the Nationals. I like the little grass hill in center behind the wall, and they have that like black I think it's like a restaurant that kind of like juts out. But that's a nice like batter's eye backdrop. But other than that, it's nice, and it's by the river. It's a good location. I don't remember so much parking wise how accessible it is.
Isn't it pretty much like downtown, like pretty close to downtown?
It's very close to downtown. In fact, it is downtown. And like Joseph said, it's right. Riverfront Stadium was on the river as well, but I remember parking. We got there late, which is a whole nother story to that visit. But we had to park in a garage a few miles, not a few miles, but a good distance from the park. We had to walk over to the stadium.
I want a separate time too. So.
You did. That's right. You want a separate time. That's right. So a little bit. You have a little bit different experience, but like you said, kind of like the Nationals Park. Not bad, but not outstanding. Doesn't really stand out in your mind. Let's talk about the Pirates. The Pirates Park. The name. What do they call their park?
It's PNC Park. Right?
PNC Park.
I think it still is. Yeah.
Now I know this is just a function of our trip there, but when we all the three of us or the four of us went. We stayed in that Spring Hill Suites, and the thing that was so great about that is you crossed the street from the hotel, and we were right at the stadium. Remember? I mean, the ease was, but even the location of the stadium was nice. It was right downtown, pretty close to the river. There's a bridge right behind the outfield that goes across the river into the downtown area of Pittsburgh, the old downtown area of Pittsburgh. Again, though, it didn't really stand out as a great park. They had some nice views from the seats of the river in the downtown Pittsburgh area. They had that nice, landscape type thing in center field that looked pretty neat. But I just like the closeness to the hotels and the eating establishments of the stadium itself.
Jersey, you can go next.
I guess I have a higher opinion. I really like Pittsburgh for a couple of different reasons. One is the view, on the other side of the river is downtown Pittsburgh, and like if you're sitting pretty low, it's like the city's kind of on top of you. Like the buildings are huge. It's a nice view. And then in right field they've got not so much like the Giants, but similar. You can like the river's right behind right field, and like they have the little splash hits counter, which is harder to do there than San Francisco. But they had that right field wall with like the little scoreboard wall, and then it's like I still wouldn't put it in the AAA category, but like Nathan mentioned, Nationals AAA. This is even more closely to it. Maybe it's because it's a small stadium. I can only seats like I think 37 or 38,000, which in baseball, pretty small. It's pretty small. But I guess that's kind of what they're designing it to do, kind of like a small field, But I really like Pittsburgh. I'd put it in a higher category than some of the ones we mentioned, like Nationals, Braves, things like that.
Okay,
I agree with Joseph. I liked it a little more better than you were saying there, but it's all for me. Like it's all about the sight lines, the view.
Right.
They couldn't have when they built the stadium, and they couldn't have picked a better spot, and they couldn't have arranged it in a better way to have a better backdrop of the city and everything. Like you mentioned the bridge. There's a couple of bridges I think behind there, and there's like yellow bridges. Like they're real close to the stadium, and then you like Joseph, you have the downtown that kind of towers over it, which the small stadium helps that feel. Right. But they couldn't have situated any better, in my opinion. Yeah. So, and I said, I mean, I don't remember much about the amenities and like food and stuff, but again, like I mentioned earlier, if that shouldn't be really the main reason you go to a game. I think one of the main reasons is just kind of like the feel when you're in your seat and what you're looking at, and that's one of the best ones that I could think of that I've been to. I mean, it's really cool. It doesn't have a lot of the history and stuff of some other stadiums, which is why it's not my top tier, but it does have like great views. I like the left field too. They have that walkway. It's like a big spiral kind of like steel like walkway thing.
Right.
Yeah, garage walkway. Or no, it's just a walk.
I don't know. I don't think it's a garage, but yeah, it's just like it's just a great view. It's right by the water. I always like stadiums by the water.
Yeah, the Pirates are good.
Yeah, exactly. Like it's a cool place.
That's a good point. Too bad they're not a better team. They had a little bit of a run there about 10 years ago where they made a couple wild card games, I think, but they've never been really able to get over the hump, you know.
Yeah. Have you ever been to the whatever the Pittsburgh Stadium was?
Three Rivers?
Yeah.
No, I've never been to the Three Rivers Stadium to watch a baseball game or a football game.
Yeah. But yeah, I don't think they could.
Three Rivers Stadium was no different than Riverfront. See, they were all the same. Three Rivers, Riverfront, the Vet, Philadelphia. They were basically the same stadiums.
Yeah, hence the cookie cutter.
Yeah, all that circle type stadium that was played that you played both sports in. All right, so let's move on to the National League West. Probably our most prolific division as far as all of us having been to those stadiums. The only outlier would be San Diego Stadium.
What would you mean?
Well, we've been there, but I mean, we didn't see a game there, right?
Yeah, I think we need to keep this to seeing games.
Yeah, I think that's probably right because we did go to the stadium and tour it, but we never really saw a game there. Yeah. So that's why I said it was an outlier.
Nice stadium, though.
Very nice stadium. I'd love to see a game there. I mean, I think, well, we won't get into it. Yeah. Maybe we will later. So let's start with San Francisco since they're actually in first place right now, surprisingly. Used to be AT&T Park. I know it's not that anymore.
Pac-Bell Park.
Pac-Bell. What is it now, Joseph? Do you know?
I don't know right now.
Doesn't matter. Okay. But
it's Pac-Bell.
Okay. Pac-Bell. Anyway, beautiful ballpark. In fact, in my opinion, probably the most beautiful ballpark when you talked about sight lines from that perspective. I know when we went, we watched them play the Yankees in a couple games, and our seats were such, at least the first day was such that you could see the bay from both directions, you know, the Oakland direction and of course down the southern way. But I mean, it's hard for me to fathom a better view than that. You know, I mean, it was just really, really beautiful. And the park was very nice as well. I mean, as far as the sight lines of the park itself and some of the things they had going on there, the food was really good. It was easy access to it. The location, again, right down by the bay. You could obviously take a cab down there. I think the parking situation, as I remember, wasn't great if you were driving your own car down there, but it was pretty easy to get.
I remember, I don't remember like a whole lot of big parking lots around it. It was kind of like right like off the street.
Exactly, yeah. But all in all, I thought it was a very nice stadium. I enjoyed it immensely.
Yeah, it's as far as views, it's probably up there. And my favorite features in the right field wall, like the brick, like a higher wall that kind of like the stadium kind of like is built up against that thing that runs along the line of the bay. You know, they have the splash hit counter and all that. The water's right behind the right field wall, and the top of the wall is the walkway. So that's probably my favorite feature of the stadium.
Don't they have like windows on the wall that you can stand behind too and watch it?
Yeah. But you know, and it's nice and everything, but like for me personally, I enjoyed just like the feel of like Arizona or Milwaukee, or it's like a big stadium. It feels more like you're in the big leagues than like that one. I don't know like how to describe it. It's very nice and like, you know, sunny and all that or whatever. Like the water's there, good views, but I just prefer like a bigger stadium. I don't know. That's just me.
Yeah, it has great views. It's like it's comparable to PNC because it's right next to the water. Yeah. It doesn't have any big bridges. You can see the Oakland Bay Bridge, I think, but it's far away. It's not like right close to it. And there's not any downtown to look at behind the wall, but it's by the water, so you have that good like water kind of breeze, and it's bigger. It's like it's the bay, so it goes down to the ocean, so it's like it's more of like a water atmosphere. I feel like you have the seagulls and stuff. Of course, I like left field. They have the big glove and the Coke bottle. Whatever they still have that.
Yeah, I think they do. Yeah,
that was cool. I remember I used to like back when Bond was playing in left field wall. They used to have like these two little cartoon cars, remember on the wall. Yeah, it's very. I get the feeling it's always very sunny there. Like just I can see what you mean, Joseph. Like, it doesn't have maybe as much of the big league kind of vibe to it as the bigger stadiums have. I very much can see that. It's one of my. It's still probably. I'd have to think more about this, but it's still probably in the top tier of the stadiums I've been to. I'd have to say, because I like it better than the National Stadium, better than Turner Field, probably better than the Red Stadium. You know, a lot of the stadiums we've talked about, I like it better than. So I have to put it in my top tier probably. I remember the second Yankees game we went to, we sat. Not every seat has a great view, I guess. Let's just put that. We sat one place where we kind of had under an overhang. We were in the first deck, I think, but far enough back where the overhang of the next deck was above us. And
that was the first game.
That was the first game.
Yeah, we were down the right field line.
And you kind of had to like lean down if you're going to see like where a ball would go if it went over the fence or something. I remember A-Rod hit a home run that game.
Yeah.
And we had kind of had to lean down to see where it was landing. I remember we saw Clemens face Bonds, which
was
great.
The second game when we had the seats down close to the
So my biggest memory was just about the cool, like the great experiences we had of the players we saw there. You know what I mean? Like more so than the.
You got Willie Mays autograph.
Yeah, I got. I'll tell you that.
Willie McCovey.
Yeah, he was riding a little golf cart.
Yeah.
The Willie Mays autograph. He was on the field for they were doing something with him.
Well, they were celebrating. I think they were commemorating the '61 World Series between the Giants and the Yankees.
That's what the cover was too. But he was on the field than Mays, and he had like a little handler with him. You know, like a guy that works with the Giants, like his handler. So I was young enough, I guess, where I don't know if this would have worked if I was the age I am now, but I went down there as close as I could, and there was like a little thing when you went down, like kind of to the fence behind home plate area, kind of. There was like an extra little piece of something, like where the photographers were at before you got to the field. You know, so you couldn't really like reach over there. Anyways, so I went down there though, and I was trying to get his attention for an autograph, and it just so happened, I think, that the guy's wife and family that was like his handler were sitting right there, and she like helped me and got her husband's attention, if I remember correctly. So he got Willie Mays to come over, and I kind of tossed the card in this little net thing, and Willie Mays got it. And I remember him looking at it. It looked like he was like, oh, like he'd never seen that before. So it was like a hologram card. Yeah. Anyways, and then he tossed it back to me. That was really cool.
That's pretty cool. I'll never forget when you came back and said you got Willie Mays' autograph. It's like, really? You got his autograph?
Because it was a moment that you wouldn't expect an autograph. It wasn't like when you get a player's autograph before a game and they're down there signing when they're walking back. It was like shortly before the game started, they're about to like parade him onto the field. He was just standing there. It wasn't a people
and as much as a lot of young people don't remember this, you got the autograph of arguably one of the top 5 baseball players of all time.
Yeah, I remember when I got it, I was like,
Willie Mays for years was the number 2 on the list of home runs. Babe Ruth had 714, Mays had 660. It was like that for a long time. Of course, now Mays has dropped farther down with Hank Aaron and with Barry Bonds and with A-Rod's got 698. A lot of guys. McGuire. Yeah, a lot of guys have been up there now. That's right. So, but for a long time, like I said, he was the second most prolific home run hitter in Major League history. Yeah. So
that was awesome. He's he was great. That was really cool. But yeah, it was a nice stadium. Like I said, it's in the top probably for me.
Let's leave Dodger Stadium to last, and let's go Arizona. Now we've all been there, right? Joseph and I went together. You and Joseph went together. We've talked a little bit about Arizona ipso facto by talking about the Pirates Stadium, but
the Brewers.
I'm sorry, the Brewers Stadium. I like the Arizona Stadium. Easy to get to, easy in and out. It seemed like the amenities were really nice. The concessions were good. It was the roof was closed when Joseph and I went. I don't know what it was when you guys
closed.
Went.
I think. Closed.
I mean, it was a great place to watch a ball game, I thought.
Yeah, I like it a lot. I like the dark colors, like for the wall, like the outfield, and pretty much kind of every structure of the stadium, every part of it. It's kind of like a dark painting on all the wall. I don't know. And then that combined with like the brightness when the sun's out, like it's in the middle of the desert, basically. And then just kind of a good contrast. And they have the pool in the right field. It was like a little fun feature that stadium always had, which is always cool, even like playing on the video games and stuff. Again, another stadium with like a really big feel to it, similar to the Brewers, like we talked about. And I like it a lot. I'd put that in an upper tier category for me.
Yeah, that's in my top tier too. That was really awesome. The more I think about it, I do like the thing that sets PNC and Pac Bell, I'm going to call it Pac Bell, apart from stadiums like that with not much stands behind the fences, the views they have. They're just in great locations.
Right.
But typically, I like to have either a lot of stands back there, like one of those cookie cutter stadiums, or like just a lot of stuff going on. I mean, not just open typically.
Right.
And that stadium has that. And it's just like really, look, as much as I don't feel that strongly about domes and no domes in baseball, I guess, because it's so comfortable when you have a dome stadium like that.
Right.
Like, especially in the desert, they kind of had to go dome.
Yeah.
It's just so, I remember it was so comfortable. It sounded like kind of what you were saying about the Brewers, which makes sense. The guy probably designed it this way. It had kind of cool, like light streaming into, like the way the light would come in.
Yeah.
And they had those big panes kind of in the outfield. Can they open them in Arizona like in Milwaukee? Yeah. It was just, and I like the dark. Of course, it's like team colors, I guess, or they're team colors now. But I like the dark kind of maroon and black, and it's just that would be a great place if I was going to get season tickets someplace and I lived there. I would love going there like every game, every night, every day. Like that'd be a cool place I'd look forward to going to every day with my season tickets. And I remember like the seats. I don't know if they designed it this way, or maybe I heard this about another state. Maybe it was the Marlins I heard this about, but something. It felt like the seats, even if you were sitting like in an awkward spot, like down the line, they were kind of turned to the field. I mean, like you would never really had to crane your neck. I don't think
some do that. I don't know if that was specifically one of them. But yeah,
because I think we sat kind of down the third base line, didn't we? Kind of little ways. I don't know, but I remember that. So yeah, it's an awesome stadium, and it feels very deserty somehow. Maybe just because it's in the desert, but I don't know.
It probably had something to do with it.
Yeah, but I guess my point is, if you put that stadium like in Kansas, somehow it still feel like it's in the desert.
Right.
It had good food too, if I was thinking. They had like a big, was it a churro with like a bunch of stuff on it? They have some like premium like food items,
right,
like destination type of things you'd want to get off your food list. Very cool place.
Yeah, it was a nice stadium. I enjoyed going there a lot. I mean, it was a very comfortable place to watch a baseball game. I think, when you were talking about it, it's interesting. He brought up the point of, some teams have great views. I think that has a lot to do with what you put in your stadium too when you're designing it, right? I mean, if you're building a San Francisco Giants ballpark, or a Nationals ballpark, or any ballpark where the view of a bay or a tremendous view of the city,
you want to showcase that.
You want to showcase that. That's right. Whereas if you're in the middle of the desert or somewhere that's not very scenically aesthetic, you build the stadium in another way. So I think that's interesting. It brings up a good point of how do you design a stadium? That's probably one of the number one things you look at, right? Is what you have to work with outside of the stadium itself.
Think about a lot of these open outfield stadiums are near a river, like the Reds,
exactly,
PNC, the Giants.
Exactly. I mean, even Yankee Stadium, which we'll get into, you've got New York City, which is in and of itself, an attraction. So yeah, that's really interesting. Colorado Rockies.
I've never been there.
You've never been there. Okay. Joseph and I went once together. Joseph's been, on his own. My view of it, I think when you and I went, Joseph, we walked from the hotel to the park, which was a pretty long little walk, not a bad walk, because it took you through a nice little downtown area where there was a lot going on. And then, of course, you go down another road and finally you get to the stadium. But I thought the city of Denver, where we walked through, was very nice for fans or for people visiting the city. And the park itself was easy to get into, very aesthetically pleasing. I thought it was a great ballpark.
Yeah. I first of all, I've only been there the time I went with you.
Oh, okay. I thought you went one other time.
No.
Okay.
But yeah, I like the outside too, the all brick outside, with the Coors Field logos, like very 90s, which is when it was built, like which I kind of liked. But
does it feel like this? Does it feel like the Giants stadium? That has kind of been a brick. Does it feel similar? Or it's different, probably.
Different, I guess. I don't know, but as far as the stadium itself, the thing I've always liked about the stadium is like a little like nature conservatory thing in center field. Like it's like a little waterfall, like just trees, like a little mini forest out there. And it kind of bleeds over into the bullpen a little bit, like kind of right center. But so that's what I always liked about that stadium. Other than that, like I wouldn't call it a special stadium. Like it's fine. Like it's, it has a big feel to it, which I like, but I just kind of like, it's besides that little thing in center field, which I like, it's kind of just average, I would say.
Yeah. I mean, it's nice. It's a nice ballpark.
Is it something that like somebody like me who's never been, you would say like you got to make sure you get there. You're like, whatever. If you found yourself in Colorado.
I wouldn't say that. No.
The only stadiums right now, and this we could talk about later, but the only stadiums right now that I would say you've got to get to at some point in time are Fenway, Wrigley, and Dodger Stadium because of their age. And I think everybody needs to get to Yankee Stadium at least once as well. The old Yankee Stadium, which is no longer there. But those three old ones are the ones that you have to get to, because I think the Dodgers, which we're going to talk about now, are probably the closest, even though they're not that close, of building or moving to another stadium. I think Fenway and Chicago.
I think none of them are going to do it. But
no, I agree with that. But I think if anyone would do it first, it would be the Dodgers. Just my opinion,
Okay, I've never imagined the Dodgers moving. For some reason, I always feel like the Cubs are just on the verge of moving. I don't know why.
I don't think they'll ever move.
Okay.
I don't.
Well, who would have thought the Yankees would ever build?
Well, they didn't really move. They'll tell you they didn't move. They'll tell you they just recreated Yankee Stadium is what they're going to say.
Didn't, so.
But they moved.
Well, what if the Cubs tell you they're recreating Wrigley at a different spot?
That could be.
Anyways, real quick about the Rockies. I've never been there, but for some reason, I like you said it has a 90s feel. It does, in my mind, I feel it's very 90s.
Yeah. I agree with that.
Very 90s, yeah.
All
right, Dodger Stadium, Chavez Ravine, the third oldest stadium right now behind Fenway and Wrigley, opened in 1959, I think. And the interest of Chavez Ravine, before we spent a lot of time out there, since Nathan was out there and we spent more time in that area, it actually went to the ball games. I never could figure that out, but it is actually in a ravine. I mean, when you drive up to the stadium, at least from one side of it for sure, from the park side, I forget the name of the park, but
I forget now.
Yeah, all right. But anyway, it is deep down into a ravine, and it's like a bowl dug into the ground. But the views are spectacular. I mean, any kind of view in California is spectacular, but sitting there in Dodger Stadium and looking at the mountains and looking at the trees and the view that you get is really pretty fantastic. Parking is tremendous. I mean, there's all kinds of parking in that bowl. Which makes it easy. The exit and entry is not so easy because everything kind of funnels into one point. But the food is great. Dodger dogs, classic food. And I just think it's just a fantastic ballpark. Partly because of its age, but partly because of the aura of the Dodger franchise.
Yeah, it's definitely a top 5 stadium for me. Maybe even top 3. I think about it, but things I like are. One, like you said, like it feels very California, like very LA, or like the hills in the background, like the California, like those style of trees and like the
palm trees.
The palm trees, yeah, I was going for it. And then you always you're in LA, and then I like they've always had that like light blue color wall, like a lot of light blue. And the Dodgers don't really wear light blue, but something about them using that in the stadium makes it cool. I don't know.
Yeah, it's interesting. It's not even in their color scheme, but it's all over the stadium. I wonder if it used to be dark blue and the sun just drenched it out to the light.
Could be, yeah, could be.
Whatever they're trying to do with that, it works. And then, like you said, another stadium, it's in the ravine, but it just feels huge. There's like 5 decks total, and like
right.
Now it kind of slopes down a little bit or maybe not really. It doesn't really slope down, I guess. The outfield is not. There's not as much seating out there, so it's not like a full big stadium. But it just works for some reason. I don't know.
Yeah,
it works.
It's. The only stadium that I've put above Dodger Stadium that I've been to is the old Yankee Stadium, definitely.
Yeah.
It's hard to compare the two. They're very different. They're very different. Like a Fenway.
Of course, we'll get into that next episode, but would you put it above Dodger Stadium?
What'd you say, Justin?
Fenway?
Yeah.
I would. Well, I
think I put Dodger Stadium. I might put Dodger Stadium above it.
Let me step back. I said I would too quickly. They both have something that makes them very attractive. Yeah. I don't think it's fair to compare the two.
It's hard to compare. It's very East versus West Coast vibes.
Yes.
Anyways, it's my top 3 stadium, right? Definitely.
Yeah.
Everything you all said is right on. I like the light yellow too. They have the yellow, like that's not in their colors. Like the yellow and the light blue is weird. Also, if you've never been there and you hear ravine, it's definitely in a ravine, but it might not be like the whole thing's not like in a ravine. No. Like if the outfield is ground level, like if you know what I mean? Like if you could walk right to the field theoretically from where you park in the outfield, like it's ground level. But as you go up, it's dug into like a ravine. Like you said, like if you enter from the top of the stadium behind home plate, you enter from the very highest deck.
Yes.
And you have to go down.
Yes.
But it's like that. But it's also interesting that I would have, and also the ravine, you may think it's like in a low spot, but the little ravine it's in is like on a hill that's above the city. So like it's high up.
Right.
Like if you go up to the top of the entrance and you look out, away from the stadium, you can see a great view of downtown LA. Like it's high up, it's cool. You're in the hills, which is neat. I wonder why it had to be something about. Don't all stadiums have to be directed a certain way for the sun?
Yeah.
Because you would think that maybe when they built it, you would have thought they would have faced it with downtown LA behind the fence.
You definitely don't want the sun setting right behind the pitcher's mound.
So I'm sure that's why they faced it toward the hills. But like you said, you get a great, especially if you sit up high, you get a great view of the hills directly behind it.
Yeah.
They have a kind of faux Hollywood sign that says "Go Blue" or whatever.
Yeah.
Or at least they did when I went. And then you can also see the distant, like Sierra Madre kind of hills a little bit.
And you guys both have the advantage, or I guess I don't know what the word I'm looking for. You've been to a World Series there.
Yeah.
I mean, which to me is a classic thing to do. That
I'm glad I was we were sitting in the apartment. I remember trying to decide we should go. I could have taken or left it. Joseph pushed us good to go.
Aren't you glad?
I'm very glad you did, Joseph, because that was one of my favorite sporting experiences I've ever had.
True, yeah.
One of the favorite. It was like going to Dodger Stadium, like to see like Milwaukee in July, which I've done before. It's like that's cool, but the World Series was night. The stadium was rocking. They came out with a win like late in the game. It was game 6. I think they had to win to survive.
Yeah, they did, yeah.
And so it was a big win, and they had like a big drama at the end too, and people were like chanting, walking. That was an awesome experience. It's very like I don't know what else to say. It's just you have to see it. That's the thing I'd say. I don't care if you live on the East Coast; it's a long way away. You have to go out and see Dodger Stadium. If you're a baseball fan,
I agree.
You have to see Dodger Stadium. I mean,
I agree.
It's such a Southern California vibe to it.
I agree.
Beautiful sight lines, so much history. Dodger dogs,
right. Best
ballpark food I think you can get. Beautiful place.
I mean, I said it when we started the Dodger thing. I think right now there's 3 stadiums you need to get to: Wrigley, Fenway, and Dodger Stadium. I put Yankee Stadium 4th only because it's the Yankees and their history. But outside of that, I think you can take or leave any of the other stadiums that are out there. I mean, they're all good to go to, but I wouldn't say you have to go there at some point in time.
Yeah, especially when you're talking about if you don't live anywhere near these, like I wouldn't say you have to go out to Arizona. Like it's an awesome state. If you don't live near Arizona, I would say don't worry about it.
You're not going to miss anything by not going there. But I think if you don't get to Fenway, Wrigley, or Dodger Stadium or Yankees, but those 3, you're missing part of the fabric of baseball.
Of baseball, exactly. Not just the team, but of baseball.
Right.
And then Dodger Stadium has this cool, like little zigzaggy, like little things behind the outfield.
Yeah,
I mean, also, if you can get this seat, I recommend this. I sat one time in the very last row of the first deck, all right, which you would think might be a problem, but the upper deck doesn't cut off your sight line that. I mean, you don't get the full feel of the stadium around you because you have the overhang, but you can still see well.
Right.
And there's a fan right behind me because you're in the breezeway. They have fans there. I mean, cool, not people,
electric fans.
Yeah. So you're cool. And then the concession was right behind me where you get the Dodger dogs, and the bathroom was right next to the concession. It was a great place to sit. Last row, first deck. I would say that's a good place to sit. But
okay, so lots of great discussions here. We'll touch on the American League stadiums on another episode, but we really want you to interact with us on this one. Nathan obviously will put some of this up on YouTube, as he's been doing the Press Box podcast channel on YouTube. That's going to be a great way for you to catch some of this. But we want you to, those of you that are listening to the episode, hit us up on Twitter at PressBoxPod, or put your comments up on YouTube when Nathan puts it up there. Give us your opinion. What do you think of what we said? Dodger Stadium, Fenway, Wrigley, the 3 best. Maybe you have different ones in your top 3. Which ones did you like or not like? Did you agree with our assessment? Did you disagree with our assessment? Did we miss something that's a great part of one of these stadiums that you might know about, or an experience that you had going to one of these stadiums? So we really want your interaction on this. Remember, at PressBoxPod is our Twitter account. Hit us up there. Or on YouTube, you can leave a comment. We've gotten plenty of comments on our YouTube, thanks to our producer, Nathan, who's put those up there on our YouTube channel. So we'd love to hear from you. Make sure you stay with us.
I was going to say one more thing about Dodger Stadium. I think you have to mention, because we talked about those teams, the ease of transportation to it. It's if you take one of the major highways in LA, the 110, it's like right off of that, like an easy exit to get there. And also there's a metro to the Union Station. There's a bus from Union Station. You can park at Union Station and take a bus to Dodger Stadium and then back, which is pretty easy.
Yeah, they make it pretty easy, which is good to do in Los Angeles.
Yeah, hard though.
So what?
getting out of the parking lot is not easy.
Well,
it's not.
It's like
it all funnels to one point.
It all funnels into that little. I think you can go out another way actually, but that's the main way. But there's no lanes. It's just like a mass of cars funneling into an area.
But once you get out, you're right on 110.
Then you get around the 110 areas.
All right, so that's our episode, National League Ballparks. Well, make sure you stay with us and keep watching for our next episode. For Joseph and Nathan, I'm Ralph Miranda. Thanks for listening to the Press Box Podcast.